Hi everyone, my name is Full Hardy, official member of the Splat Squad, and welcome back to Hardy's Backlog. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Octo Expansion DLC that recently released for Splatoon 2. However, I have never actually given my thoughts on the Splatoon series on this channel before. So, really quickly, I'm going to give you guys a brief review of Splatoon 2 for the Nintendo Switch. Splatoon 2, if I had to sum it up very quickly, I would say as... it's pretty fresh. Man, you will not believe how freaking hot a squid hat gets. That's ridiculous. So I'm probably an oddball here, but my favorite part of the Splatoon series is actually the single player stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the multiplayer aspect of Splatoon. I love the unique style that Nintendo managed to take shooters into. It's just so much fun to run around and splat each other, the cool game modes. It's my second favorite shooter of all time. You'll always be safe in my heart, Roadhog. But something about the campaign really just hooks me in. I spent like 45 minutes writing that hook in line, by the way, because, you know, stay off the hook, don't get cooked. You better like this video just for that, alright? The Splatoon 2 single player is this weird mismatch of third-person shooter as well as 3D platformer collectathon, which are two of my absolute favorite genres. So to see them come together is really exciting. Nintendo did a really good job with the Splatoon series because they managed to make it stand out from all its other competitors with its pretty frequent free DLC updates. These updates, completely free to the user, included new weapons, new maps, new cosmetics, as well as, I think it's like bi-monthly Splatfest competition, which helps reignite the community. And get this, there's no microtransactions or loot boxes in a shooter game. I don't even know how they make money. Selling the game? That can't possibly work. Sadly, that couldn't last forever, and earlier this year Nintendo announced the very first paid DLC expansion for Splatoon 2, the Octo Expansion. Now, this still did include some multiplayer aspects in it. It has brand new cosmetics, as well as makes the Octolings playable. Playable Octolings is something that people thought were going to come back in the Splatoon 1 days. It was very heavily rumored, and it then never happened. And then when Splatoon 2 came around, it seemed like the perfect time, but again, nothing. Finally, our dreams have come true though, and if you buy the Octo Expansion, you can now battle around and ink other players as an Octoling. But that's not the main reason to buy the Octo Expansion, and I can't imagine anyone spending $20 on just a alternate skin, essentially. Well, I say that, but I've seen people spend thousands of dollars on hats in TF2, so I really question some people. But the main reason you will want to buy the Octo Expansion is for the single player content, and is it worth the $20 price tag? Let's find out. The Octo Expansion takes place after the first two games in the Splatoon world. However, you don't need to play the previous two games to understand what's going on. They do a pretty decent job of building the world for you. Although, if you're buying this, I'm going to assume that you did play the campaign of Splatoon 2, because this is basically just more campaign. Is there anybody that got the Octo Expansion but didn't actually play the original campaign for the game? I'm actually quite curious about that. So you do play as an Octoling throughout this campaign, and you're found in the deep, dark, underground middle of somewhere by Captain Cuttlefish from the first game. It turns out you were locked in an intense battle with Agent 3, the protagonist from Splatoon 1, when you were both attacked by someone. Captain Cuttlefish seems a little racist towards Octolings at first. However, apparently when you were knocked out, you were humming the Calamari incantation, and anybody who likes the Squid Sisters is a friend of mine. And his as well. So you and Captain Cuttlefish team up to try to get out of wherever the heck you are and back up to the surface to Inkopolis. And by team up, I mean you're gonna do everything. As you're exploring around, you end up stumbling upon this weird telephone in the middle of a metro station. A voice on the other side of this phone comes alive and tells you that it can help you get to the Promised Land, what you believe to be the surface. However, before he'll take you to the Promised Land, you have to prove your worthiness by completing several challenges and collecting 4 Thangs. Yes, Thang. You are the 10,008th participant in this challenge, showing just how difficult it can be, which also earns you the nickname Agent 8. With your challenge in front of you and your goal to get back to the surface, you board the deep sea metro with some very odd passengers, and your journey begins. Storyline wise, that's pretty much all I'm going to cover for now because I don't want to get into too much spoilers, we'll save that for later, but the main reason you're buying the Octo Expansion is for the gameplay, so let's focus on that for a bit. If you played Splatoon 1 or Splatoon 2, this is really more of the same thing. The campaign is broken up into several different isolated levels, each one with a specific goal and various ways of how to complete that. Attack various enemies, protect objects, reach the goals, do certain platforming challenges. It's really more of just what made Splatoon so awesome in the first place. I don't have a problem with that. You gotta live by the philosophy sometimes of don't fix what's not broken, which really makes me wonder why people don't consider Splatoon 2 a sequel. I mean, it has a completely different hub world, new cosmetics, new weapons, new campaign. Yeah, it shares some multiplayer stuff, but you know what? That multiplayer stuff in Splatoon 1 was awesome, so why would you change it? I don't know, this whole port versus sequel thing really annoys me. Splatoon 2 is a sequel, it's a sequel, it's not a port. It reuses some assets because they were perfectly fine. It's a sequel, alright? I know this is completely unrelated, but that annoyed me so much when Splatoon 2 came out. It's very clearly a sequel. Smash Ultimate is a sequel. It is not a port. Just let it go, alright? Sequels. I didn't even have that written down. I don't know what got me off going on that, to be honest with you. While playing through the Octo Expansion, I couldn't help but pick up a certain vibe from another game series, and not even a Nintendo game series. You see, the Octo Expansion is Portal. No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything here. Hear me out. You go through isolated test chambers completing various goals. You walk around with a gun that shoots out some unique substance that helps you traverse through these levels. And, well, there's more that I'll have to get into the spoiler section, but this game feels very, very heavily inspired by Portal, and that's definitely not a bad thing. Portal 1 and Portal 2 are some of the greatest games I've ever played, with some of the most unique gameplay I've ever played, just like Splatoon. And it's definitely a great thing to take inspiration from. Just not something I would have expected from Nintendo of all people. To attempt each of these levels, you need a certain amount of CQ points. You can earn these by completing various levels, as well as unlocking new lines for the Metro to travel on. Hi guys, sorry for interrupting the video, but I just noticed that the little blob that drives the train, his name is CQ Cumber. I didn't notice that throughout my entire playthrough somehow, and that's just, best thing I've ever seen. I love him so much. Sorry for the interruption. Back to the review. What happens if you don't have enough CQ points though? Well, to be honest, I have no idea. I never even got close to running out of points. You earn more points than you have to spend to attempt the level, and they just give you a bunch of free points throughout the game. I get the idea behind the points. Like, it's almost like a gamble, you know? You have to bet on yourself to prove you can do it. But it was never even a factor in my mind. Spending the points was like, yeah, I'll spend those, I'll earn them back, it's not a big deal. Like, it never played into any decision I ever made. As you begin each test station, you will usually be given an option of a few different weapons to choose from, with the more difficult weapons for this test rewarding you with more CQ points. I typically just went with the easiest, if you want to call it, weapon to do the challenge with, just because, again, I didn't care about CQ points. However, if you're a completionist and you want to get more out of this, going through the level with each of the weapons will definitely extend your playtime by quite a bit. I'm not sure if there's actually a way to track which levels you beat with each weapon like there is in the single player though. As you go through each level, you are given anywhere from 3 to 5 lives usually to complete the level with, and if you run out of lives, well, you actually can just spend more CQ points to continue from the last checkpoint. Even with this happening several times and having to spend more CQ points to continue from where I am, I still never even came close to running out of CQ points though, so don't really think much about it. The only reason I can even imagine that you would choose not to continue from your last checkpoint is if you're just really frustrated, you want to take a break and try a different test station, or if you want to change weapons. Besides that, you just continue from the last checkpoint, especially if you're at the last checkpoint. You just might as well continue from there. However, if you're really struggling with a level, you actually will be eventually given the option to skip the level completely. And you can do this for every single level in the game, including the finale. And is there a downside to skipping these levels? Well, only if you're a completionist. You see, at the end of each one of these levels, you're given a mem cake, which, and I want to make sure I get this right here because it's a little weird. Mem cakes are little gummy-like things that are formed by compressing memories into a physical form. This game has some twisted elements about it. They're really cute. If you take a look at them, you actually will get little snippets of like the world of Splatoon. But are they really necessary? If you end up skipping level, you get a grayed out mem cake, so you can't really tell what's going on and you don't get any kind of description about it. And the only other thing you're missing out on is there's a really weird passenger on the Deep Sea Metro who is a little too fascinated with your mem cake collection. If you end up showing him a full set of completed mem cakes, he'll actually reward you with some cosmetics that you can end up using in the multiplayer once you finish the campaign. Hey guys, I'm sorry about another interruption in this video, but I have to point this out because it's actually really important for the review. I was playing through the Octo Expansion in my free time after recording everything and starting to edit this video, and I realized everything well, there goes my drink. Everything I told you guys about the completionist thing, how you have to go through and get all the gummies to get the cosmetics, it's wrong. It's completely false. You don't even need to have the full gummies to get the cosmetics. You can have the grayed out gummies and he'll still give you the cosmetics. I did that. I had one of the lines that the metro goes on. I had all the gummies except one that was grayed out because I skipped it, and it still counted as complete. You don't even have to complete the levels to get the cosmetics. There's no reason to play any of these levels. Okay, sorry, back to the review. And that's really it. If you don't care about a few extra cosmetics or a few grayed out gummies, you can skip every single level in this game. You never have to complete a test station to finish Splatoon. Normally I would be really against this, and I do think that might be going a bit too far. Like skipping the finale, really? Come on guys. But this game's a bit of a bitch. I would be lying to you guys if I didn't say I had to actually use this feature a few times. You see, the difficulty spike in this game is just all over the place. Some of them are very simple: avoid enemies, get to the goal, maybe defeat a few bosses. And then you have some certain challenges like, oh, here's a ball that you have to protect for 90 seconds. Also, there's 10 other Octolinks attacking it from all different directions. Each one of them has special weapons. Also, we just kicked a puppy. Like, I like some difficult challenges. I love getting my heart racing and pumping during video games, but that's just ridiculous, man. I don't know how people 100% this stuff. Those missions are absolutely out of control. So yeah, I used the skip feature like 2 or 3 times. I tried not to use it. If I thought if I kept pushing myself through I can get it, I would keep trying. If I was just frustrated and didn't want anything to do with the level anymore, I would skip it. I still can't agree with putting it on a finale though, because it feels very participation trophy like, which I'm really against the idea of participation trophies. Although that's actually the only trophy I've ever gotten in my life. But yeah, it's there if you need it. I recommend not using it, but it's your choice. So as you go through the Octo Expansion, you have a choice of 80 different levels to complete. In my personal playthrough, I completed, let me check, 39? I completed the 39 levels? What? How is that even possible that I only did 39? I didn't even beat half the game. What's so weird about that is my playthrough was almost 7 hours long. It took me over 6.5 hours to beat those 39 levels and beat the game. And honestly, that's really cool. You see, I felt really satisfied at the end of my playthrough of the Octo Expansion when I beat the finale. I'm like, yeah, that was a good like 6.5 hours worth of gameplay. Definitely worth the value. Turns out there's another second half of the game I can still play. Now, I'm not really going to factor these other 40 levels into the review at all because I felt satisfied with the game. I played it to completion. I don't 100% things on this channel. That's not what it's about. So I'm just going off my experience. I would have been happy, honestly, if there was 40 levels in this game. That would have been cool by me. Now knowing there's another, 41 missions waiting for me to go back and attempt, that's pretty cool. Musically, the game features tracks just in line with everything else you've heard in the Splatoon universe. You have new tracks from Off the Hook, Deadfish, as well as the various artists in the Splatoon world. However, there's one track specifically I need to talk about. You see, I think it's been labeled as the theme song for the Octo Expansion, and it makes me feel a little uncomfortable. It might be best if I just play it for you guys, and yeah. You see, I'm 99% sure that's not what's being said there. The Inklings don't speak English, they don't speak Japanese, any other known language. They speak their own language. But the song is called Nasty Majesty, so just saying, it's a little weird. It's also very possible I'm the only one that hears that, and now you all think I'm really weird. If that's the case, that wouldn't be the first time. Visually, the game fits in perfectly with the Splatoon universe. It's exactly what you'd expect from an expansion to Splatoon 2. The Octo Expansion specifically does feature a lot of 80s-like aesthetics from the logos and graphics, and even some of the certain level designs. I did find it very odd, however, how they chose to kind of basically rip off that 80s text meme from a year or so ago. Like, it's weird to see Nintendo embrace pop culture, I guess, is what's so odd to me. Also, the female Octoling, when you get a mem cake, like, her smile is my life force. I live for that. It is the absolute cutest thing. I strive to complete levels just so I can see it again. I love her. Wait, can a squid kid be a waifu? I need to look into this. But that's basically it for the gameplay, although 50% of the reason that I've enjoyed this so much is because of the story, which is probably pretty weird for anyone who played the Splatoon 1 and 2 campaigns, because they're not really known for their story content. However, Octo Expansion's a little bit different, so let's take a look at that. While going through the various challenges, you eventually get in contact with Pearl and Marina, the Off the Hook band that's also the host of the super wonderfully not annoying cutscenes that you see every single time you boot up Splatoon. Isn't that just lovely? It turns out Marina's a pretty talented hacker, and they're going to do their best to try to help you get out of here. She actually uses her hacking skills specifically to skip those test chambers if you do choose to skip them, so thank you. Throughout the course of the campaign, you'll end up seeing several chat logs between Pearl, Marina, and Captain Cuttlefish, and this is probably the highlight of the entire DLC for me. I'm going to be honest with you guys, when Splatoon 2 first came out, I really didn't care about Pearl and Marina, especially Pearl. She just looked like an annoying little bratty child to me. I'm Callie and Marie for life. But my opinion really has changed about them after playing through this. Learning more about their backstory, how Marina came from the Octolings and blended into Inkling society, Pearl's uprising and them joining forces and forming Off the Hook, as well as Captain Cuttlefish trying to figure out how to use a keyboard, is just amazing. It made me love these characters. Who would have thought some character development can do some good? What a weird concept. Seriously, if you're playing through this, do not skip these chat logs. I know it's reading, which nobody wants to do, but it's absolutely worth the time. They're amazing. Plus, you also get some audio clips of their original demos when they're first starting out as musicians, which is the coolest little thing. They didn't even have to include. It's so nice. As mentioned earlier, to reach the Promised Land, you have to complete the 4 different things, which you can find while traversing through the different lines of the Deep Sea Metro. When you find the thing, you get this really cute cutscene where she takes a selfie. God, I love her. She's so great. So you collect the things and take them back. Wait a minute. Are we building a blender? Oh my god, it's a fucking blender. Why are we building a blender? I know we have SNESs floating up in space in some of these levels, but a blender of all things? A giant blender is that? How did that even get down here? Who built a giant blender? Are the Inklings actually this big in order for the blender to be that big? Why are we building a blender? This game is so weird. Once you assemble all 4 of the... Once you build your blender, there's somehow a plot twist that I didn't see coming. The voice behind the phone turns out to be evil. Seriously, I don't know how I didn't see this coming. I feel kind of disgraceful that I didn't see it coming, that it actually surprised me. It seems very obvious, but it really did shock me. The voice behind the telephone ends up trapping you and Captain Cuttlefish inside the blender, and it pretty much looks like all hope is lost. Pearl and Marina can't do anything because they're up on the surface, but out of nowhere, Agent 3, the protagonist from the first game, blasts into the scene and saves you both from utter destruction. Again, this somehow is something I didn't see coming, especially this one, because it was actually heavily foreshadowed earlier in the game. Maybe it's because I took a few weeks break in between playing these sessions, but I didn't see that coming, and I feel really stupid for that. And then this brings us to another point where I really feel like this game has been heavily inspired by Portal. You see, after you complete all the test chambers, you now go rogue and go behind the scenes of this weird underground facility to try to escape to the surface. Like, this is just Portal. It's Portal. The final challenges of the Octo Expansion vary from Metal Gear Solid-like stealth missions where you have no weapons, get to the goal missions, collection missions, and are you kidding me? Another one of these darn escort protect missions? Nope, not doing it. Gone, out of here. Go away. Once you get right towards the surface of this underground facility though, you're actually challenged by Agent 3, who it turns out has been brainwashed by this weird voice behind a telephone. This leads to a really epic fight with the protagonist from the first game. I love this. It reminded me a lot of battling Red at the top of Mount Silver in Pokemon Gold and Silver, although Red, I guess, wasn't brainwashed. It's just, I always love when you get to fight the protagonist from the previous game because you can relate to both of them so much. It's seeing two worlds collide. It's always a ton of fun for that kind of stuff. You eventually beat Agent 3, who has a lot of special weapons available to him. Like, he is charging those way too fast. There's something fishy going on here. That's another one of those ones that I spent a really long time writing, so if you haven't liked this video yet, you really should. I spend way too much time on my fish puns, okay? Once you defeat Agent 3 and save him from his brainwashing, you finally reach the surface and you're back out into the real world. Real world, that's not right. I'm pretty sure when you're underground, it's still real. You don't enter some imaginary fake world. You're outside. Nobody ever wants to go outside. That's a bad thing. As you're skating on some helicopters, the Statue of freaking Liberty starts rising out of the ocean. Yeah, it turns out that's what we've been inside this whole time. Is there test chambers currently inside the Statue of Liberty? Have we been inside that? Yeah, you can go to the top of it, right, tourist? I'm pretty sure you can go inside the Statue of Liberty. But I'm watching you. It's discovered that the voice behind the telephone is actually this weird, disgusting blob named Commander Tartar. He was created 12,000 years ago when the humans still roamed the planet. Yes, turns out this is canonically in our world. A scientist created Commander Tartar to pass down the vast human knowledge to the next suitable life form. Also, apparently we're going to be extinct in 12,000 years, so that actually seems very possible. When the Inklings and Octolings started to become self-aware, it seemed like they were the perfect candidate for all this knowledge. However, they started fighting against each other in wars and obsessing over stupid things like clothing, and it turns out they're just as bad as we are. So instead, he's decided he's going to blow up the entire world instead and start from scratch, which makes me ask the question, where is he going to go after he blows up the world? I swear supervillains who are like, I'm going to destroy the world, they never think about this. Where are you going afterwards? Like, what, are you just going to sit there in space and build a new planet? If you're going to like take over the world, or you're going to destroy the world, I should say, then what? No one's going to know you did it. Everyone's dead. You didn't accomplish anything. Ugh. Go stand on the moon before you blow up our planet at least. That'll probably make sense. I mean, it'll throw the moon completely off its gravitational pull, probably go flying into a sun or another planet that's not inhabitable by humans, so that really wouldn't work out for you. Although I guess the moon really isn't inhabitable by humans either. Just don't blow up the Earth, okay? But Marina is here to save the day as she plants huge hyper bombs all over the Statue of Liberty. You go through and blow them all up, and then Pearl actually finishes it off with a huge battle cry. And that's the Octo Expansion. The credits roll, you save the day, and Octoling blends into society. I was pleasantly surprised with the Octo Expansion. I thought I'd like it. I thought it'd be very similar to the Splatoon 1 and 2 campaigns, but it was so much more than those campaigns. You get a ton of backstory about the characters. I've really grown to appreciate Pearl and Marina, which is something I just didn't really care about them before at all, as well as just learning more about the world of Splatoon, which I've always loved the backstory of these games, and some fun gameplay. So I'm happy with the Octo Expansion, but the question now is, should you play it? Well, I feel before you purchase it, you have to ask yourself a few questions. Do you care about the world of Splatoon or the single player elements, or do you just play it for the multiplayer? If you're in it just for the multiplayer, I would recommend passing. If you played the Splatoon 1 or 2 campaigns, did you enjoy them? If yes, great, maybe give it a try. If not, again, I'd probably pass. And finally, are you up for a challenge? This can be a bit difficult. It's definitely not a walk in the park. So if you just want something really chill that you can just play for like 15 minutes, have a good day, I probably wouldn't recommend this. But if you answered yes to those questions and you're intrigued by more single player Splatoon, I can't recommend it enough. I think the Octo Expansion is an amazing piece of DLC that I wish other developers would take a lesson from. It adds a very substantial amount of content to the game single player wise. I mean, I only completed half of it seems, and I'm already 7 hours into it. That's amazing. I would personally say this is my favorite Splatoon single player experience to date. Better than both of the original campaigns. I loved it. The game features very unique level design, new music. There's several different themes that are repeated throughout the game, like escorting a giant magic 8-ball to the end goal. You have to do this a few different times, but each time it feels unique. It does recycle some boss fights from the original 2 games, but they're modified remixes that are a lot more difficult, and they're still quite fun. I do want to go back and try playing the other 40 levels in my free time. I don't have any plans on 100%ing it because those escort missions will probably give me nightmares, but I'm really satisfied. If I stop playing right now, I would be very satisfied with my experience with the Octo Expansion. And to wrap up, I want to say happy anniversary to Splatoon 2. The game came out on that's not even close to being right. July 21st, 2017 is released on the Nintendo Switch. I got it the day of its release. I've absolutely loved it ever since. Splatoon is one of my favorite Nintendo series to date. It is absolutely amazing. I'm so happy it has had such huge success. I'm very excited for Inkling and Smash. I hope there's some Splatoon 2 or Octoling representation in Smash as well in some way. That would also be awesome. DLC costumes maybe? Echo Fighter, Octoling, I'm sure there's something they can do with that. I mean, there's so many different weapon types. They can definitely make an Echo Fighter out of that, right? And yeah, that's my thoughts on the Octo Expansion. So to wrap up, I'm actually going to take some questions from you guys. I am answering these questions off of Twitter. If you guys are interested in having some of your questions answered at the end of these videos, I will be posting on Twitter shortly before I record these videos with what game I'm playing, asking you guys if you have any questions. Follow me on Twitter if you want to be included. Link down in the description below. At Wimpods asks, why are Pearl and Marina so perfect for each other? Well, I have to completely agree, especially after reading the chat logs in these games. Oh my gosh, I love them so much. At Blake the Nerd asks, are you a squid or a kid? I'm an adult. At Adam Arantula asks, if you could choose your color, what color ink would you splat? Definitely green. I love green, it's my favorite color. It's Caterpie, of course, everyone loves Caterpie. And I also think it's just one of the best looking inks in the game. I hope I pronounced your name right, by the way. At Bobishka, hope I pronounced it right, asks, what got you into Splatoon? Honestly, I was excited from the very first trailer Nintendo showed like 2 years before Splatoon 1 came out. It just looks amazing. I love platformers, I love shooters, I love Nintendo, I love colorful games. It was just a match made in heaven. At Jax asks, is the Octo Expansion worth $30 Australian? That's honestly a hard question to answer because I know Australia, their games are more expensive over there for whatever reason. It's hard to say how you would value it. You know, I paid 1/3 of what the base game is, $20 out of the $60. So if I hope not, but if Splatoon 2 costs 90 Australian dollars, then I would absolutely say Splatoon Octo Expansion is worth the $30. It all comes down though to how much enjoyment you would get out of it. At Chandler Chan asks, why do Inklings and Octolings have boobs? Well, the Inklings and Octolings have two different forms. A squid, true to their actual amphibian-like form, as well as a humanesque form, where they resemble us, due likely to evolution. And in that, they have a lot of human-like features from, you know, big eyes, noses, mouths, teeth, and the females would also develop boobs. You also notice they have hips, they have butts, they have toes, they have every feature that a human-like kid or adult would have. So that is why they have boobs. And that's it, guys. That is it for my Octo Expansion review. Hopefully it didn't go too long. My rough recording is 43 minutes because I just don't know how to stop talking. I make bullet point scripts and I just go off topic so much. I'm never going to make a short video, I swear. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these long videos though. That's all for me today. Until next time, I'm Foolhardy. I don't know how to say goodbye. I don't know what to do. This is the most awkward part of the video. You know what? I'm going to smash this Red Bull can into my head and that is the end of the video, okay? Fine.